Hey everyone, and welcome to my leveling guide of my Summon Necromancer. With the massive amount of changes within patch 1.2.0, the minion necro class fantasy is not only viable, but later with gear most likely one of the best builds in the game. I probably benefit from every single buff and change within these patch notes, and on top of it, the minions get a huge boost from Vampiric Powers. More about that when I talk about my gear choices. Feel free to make use of the timestamps below if you want to skip around the video. I'll show you a character which just arrived in World Tier 3 with basically no gear, and not a single stat got rolled. My gear is not upgraded whatsoever, and I'm not wearing any sacred items. Keep in mind this playstyle is not for everyone. Standing back and playing minion manager basically, I think it's the best. The more lazy and self-sufficient, the better. Minion builds are generally less gear dependent than other builds, but the performance is just absurd. And the Vampiric Power, which boosts Thorns damage by a few 100%, it's just the damage that was needed. With that being said, let's get started. So before I show you all the gear pieces one after another, I explain you what's going on in this build actually, okay? Because there's so much synergy going on already with that low level, thanks to the Vampiric Powers. So first of all, I'm not only using the minions who do mostly all the work, but I also make use of Thorns damage and the buffs to Thorns damage and a Vampiric Power called Jagged Spikes. So Thorns has a 10% chance to deal an absurd amount of extra damage and they chill enemies. That's a nice combo because I use the cold mages, etc, etc. So I have a lot of crowd control going on. I can taunt them with the golem. They get crowd control from corpse chanterers and so on and so on. So there's a lot of crowd control and Thorns damage, chance to freeze, all the good stuff. So this is key. And when they are crowd controlled, there's another X multiplier, and also they get one shot. Like there's a kill threshold basically, which helps with clear speed, like from like annoying trash mobs in dungeons or whatsoever. Yeah, I didn't unlock all of them, but I think I got all the good ones for now at least. Using this as well. They are vulnerable when they are cursed, and my minions have a chance to curse them. So that's neat. And my ultimate gets cooldown reduction, so I can use Army of the Dead a little bit more often. Which is important because I got the aspect on the weapon. Speaking of aspects, let's talk about the gear now. So I think you get the general idea. You know what? Maybe I'll show you my Book of the Dead. So in general, as far as I understood it within the patch notes, it doesn't really matter which warriors you use now. They all inherit Thorns damage. But I tried each and every one of them. And I'm still using the defenders. Not only because they pack the most Thorns damage, but they defend the mages, basically, if that makes sense. So before I was using the defenders, I had to re-summon my mages too often. And since I prefer a lazy playstyle and a more stress-free playstyle, I went with those. So I don't have to resummon them as often, alright? So the defenders with the Thorns thingy. The cold mages, because that's another source of crowd control and a possible chance to freeze them, which when that happens, and it happens quite frequently, especially against more tanky elite packs, when they are frozen, it's absolutely over with. Because all the damage multipliers from the Vampiric packs kick in, they just get melted. I'm using the mages, which give a little bit of essence back for sustain. I think I never have issues with the essence. For the golem, I'm using the bone golem. Because he gets more Thorns damage. So that's the gang. Let's talk about the gear. The gear is very basic. I farmed a lot of green Helltide events, like the new events, right, from Season Topic. So I have like 2 stashes full of sacred gear, but I really wanted to show you this without any upgrades. I will make all the upgrades after the video. So this gear is utterly garbage. Let's be real. These are level 25 gloves, etc, etc. The rows on here, I haven't even looked at them. I just slapped some aspects on there, and or I found them as they are, right? So I'm running Disobedience here on the helm to get a little bit more tanky. Same with this, like off the might, right? Just DR, 20% DR. I think this is more needed in like endgame content and World Tier 4, because as of now, like I just relax in the back and all the minions do all the work, so I rarely get hit anyways. But yeah, for tanky reasons, those two. I got this one, which buffs the Corpse Tendrils, right? Since minions can crit now, I can just give them crit chance on demand, basically. And this is a 2-in-1, because this is a source of crowd control as well. And basically it's a 3-in-1, and it has a chance to drop me a Blood Orb. And when I pick up Blood Orbs, I get reduced cooldown on my ultimate, which in return makes it so I can spam my ultimate. Like it's very, very synergistic. The build is very synergistic already with level 50. Like it's so much fun to play this build. So that's the gloves, right? And the pants give minions a little bit more damage reduction. Why not? But it doesn't make or break the build. I slapped this on here just recently because I found the aspect. And before that, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can just resummon them with a click of a button. There are plenty of corpses laying around all the time. Yeah. Sometimes I spam this anyways, because when I consume a corpse, I build up Fortify. So I'm pretty tanky, even though I'm not even a melee. More about that in the skill tree, though. For the boots, I increased the number of skeletal mages. So I have 2 more of those guys. Then, weapon and shield. Since Thorns damage rolls on a shield, and cooldown reduction can now roll on a shield, this is a no-brainer for me. Using a shield and a one-hand weapon. But yeah, here, Army of the Dead. So my minions gain attack speed with the click of a button. It says 65%, 65 seconds cooldown, but you can, hard to say, like around every 25 seconds, every 30 seconds, I can click this. Hard to tell. I don't use a stopwatch when I play, but yeah, I spam this all the time. On the other hand, if I would use a 2-hand sight, do I still have it here? Yes. This gets up to 200%. But since I will go heavily into Thorns, and then in the late game I will try to find a Razor Blade, of course. Like, it's a must-have. To use a shield is a must-have. Because of the Thorns damage roll on here, in my humble opinion. The aspect on the shield. So the mages cast Blizzard, and they chill the enemies. When they are frequently chilled, they even can freeze. Yeah, just for the damage multipliers. From which one is it? From this one, when they are frozen. Pretty neat combos all the way. The first ring buffs to minions. Attack speed, like they gain frenzy. The second ring, I think I mentioned this before. So when I pick up blood orbs, they're like red little thingies on the ground. This gets reduced. The amulet. I was debating if I should roll a skeleton warrior or a skeleton mage's aspect on here, because I could summon one more or two more minions then. Hard to tell. I think this is more damage output. The reanimation aspect benefits the most when it's placed on the amulet. But yeah, I mean, this is just a level build, right? This is the bare minimum for starting out, I'd say. The build comes online, skill tree wise as well. Around level, I think level 43 or 45. And yeah, like clearing the capstone dungeon was a walk in the park. Ridiculous, just ridiculous. I tried a Minionmancer or a Summon Necro before, and like this is a difference like day and night now with all the buffs and the patch and stuff. Yeah, so I socket this with Thorns damage, right? Because it counts for the minions too. I socket the weapon with crit damage against crowd-controlled enemies. As I mentioned previously, pretty much everything is a crowd control. This is crowd control, this is crowd control. Decrepify, slow stem, whatever. I got the pacts, so pretty much everything is crowd control. And since they're crit, I think socketing the blue gems is the right call here. And also, usually, like last season, people were using the hearts, right? And before that, people were using skulls for armor. Since resistances are better now than they were before, I went with the white gems to boost the resistances a little bit. So keep in mind, right? The rolls are just random. Like I got plus skills to blight here. Does nothing for my build. Imagine this with the right stats and fully upgraded. So I can only imagine how this build will perform like with nearly min-maxed gear. Throw a Ring of Mandeln in here and you like call it a day. So yeah, pretty nice, pretty fun build. More than viable, I think. Let's talk about the skill tree now. So this is just a personal preference of mine. I use Reap. And the thingy that makes a corpse. So the rotation is basically if the fight just starts out and there are like no dead bodies yet, I hit them with Reap. So I have one body. Then I can use Corpse Tenderers immediately. Yeah, and then I just sit back and relax. If a minion dies, I resummon the minion. That's basically the playstyle and rotation. Of course, use Decrepify. And that's it. Yeah, but this is just a personal preference of mine because I like the ability so much. I think it just looks cool. You could use Hemorrhage and initiates Hemorrhage instead if you want to really, really be tanky and build up Fortify even faster. But I think as of now, it's not necessary. Maybe I will play with this ability in Word Tier 4. We will see. But yeah, as of now, Reap. And a Reap thingy that makes the corpse. No core skill. 3 out of 3 huge flash. So the whole ground is just all like dead bodies all over the place without doing nothing. Minions kill him up. There's a dead body. 12% chance though. max out spiked armor for the Thorns damage. This will scale up, of course, with the things like Razor Blade, lol. But just intelligence rolls on the gear. And like Thorns damage on the gear for like the shield, for example. 3 out of 3 to buff the minions. 1 into Grim Harvest. Consume a corpse generates essence. Only 1 here. Just to unlock Fueled by Death. This is up pretty much all the time. Yeah. More damage. 9%. Going down to the curse skills. Max out these 3. It's just flat damage multipliers. 12 damage to a cursed enemy. 6 damage to the enemy that's close to me. And a little bit of DR, why not? And 12% damage to distant enemies. My curse of choice is Decrepify. And the thingy that lowers the cooldown. 3 out of 3 for the mages. Same as this one, right? But just for the mages. 1 into Corpse Tendrils. I have a plus skill from here, from gear. Using this one, so it has a chance to spawn a Blood Orb. When I pick up a Blood Orb, I get cooldown reduction for Army of the Dead. 3 out of 3 Necrotic Carapace. That's where the Fortified generation comes from. So basically, when I call the gang, when I summon my minions, I just passively build up Fortify. I have my remaining points. I have 2 remaining points in here because Reap is a darkness skill. So I reap them and I have a little bit more movement speed to run away basically, right? Now the important skill tree. So maxing out all those 4. That's just the minion stuff. Minions, minions, minions. Ultimate of choice. More or less also a minion. Three out of 3 into Golem Mastery to make the Golem more tanky and deal more damage. 75%, nothing to sleep on. And as the key passive, I use Kalan's Edict to buff the minions even more. That's the skill tree. Fairly simple. Like at the beginning, I thought as well, like most people, yeah, like probably pretty boring, right? Pretty boring playstyle. But not really though. You have to take care of your minions to keep them alive. Sometimes they die, you resummon them. You have the curse which you can use actively. And you should use your golem attack on cooldown. So the golem itself is an attack skill, attack ability. So it's kind of cool. Using as much as abilities as any other build, I'd say. Let's talk about the Paragon Board. I'm just rolling. No board yet. Yeah. Like, I did that on purpose. To show you that the build perfectly works fine without having anything, basically. So you can only imagine what's going on with level 100 with this type of build. I will level from 50 to 75 like that, probably. And I will see how this will perform in Virtue 4. I almost bet this will be absolutely insane with min-max gear. But yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below and like let me know what you think. Are you playing a similar build? Have you thought about running not only minions but Thorns minions? Just for free extra damage basically for these guys?